Well, well, well. Clemson Tiger fans, college football fans, welcome into the Clemson postgame live reaction here on the Voice of College Football Clemson channel. And let me tell you, I am completely disgusted by the end of this game. It's absolutely ridiculous. We got a lot to talk about in this Clemson postgame live. And I don't really know where to start. So, Jordan, just give me your perspective. Give me your initial thoughts on watching this Clemson game versus Florida State here in Death Valley.
Well, I should start by saying, because we're going to get into a lot of negative, for obvious reasons, in this post-game show. But I do want to say that this team did grow up today. I think we saw what this team is capable of being.
Mm-hmm.
You looked like the better team for pretty much the entire game. And just this game is such the margin for error is so small in these types of games. And you just key blunders in key moments cost you this football game. You were the better team today. I want Clemson fans, I don't care if Florida State fans are listening and talking about if they're, but you lost the game. You're right. You lost the game. But Clemson was the better team today. The better team doesn't always win, and that's a fact of football. Clemson was the better team today, and I think for this offense, I think for Cade, I think for the defense, I think there's a lot to be positive and take away from this game, despite how it ended. And I'm not one to, pump sunshine and all that and say everything is okay. But this team is good enough to win every game they play. The rest of the way, this team is good enough to win every game they play. And today, you just, when it comes to those key moments, whether it was a player making a mistake or a coach making a mistake, you weren't able to get it done. And I predicted a Clemson loss in our pregame show. If I had the chance to go back, I would pick Clemson to win, because Clemson was the better team today.
Yeah, Jordan. Honestly, I don't know where to start with this post-game reaction. I'm searching for words. I'm honestly disgusted at this Clemson performance. I really am, because to your point, we were the better team today. We played better. We won the game on both lines of scrimmage. We had the game in the bag, and I honestly blame this loss on the coaching staff, on the Clemson coaching staff. I think there were blunders in the Clemson coaching staff. I don't know what that play calling was in overtime. Why we're throwing the ball behind the line of scrimmage, 3 and 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage on 3rd and 2 in overtime. I have no idea why Phil Maffa disappeared in the game late. I have no idea why we made certain decisions. I have no idea. It's frustrating to watch as a Clemson fan. It's absolutely ridiculous. We should have won this game, and it's a hard pill to swallow. It's a hard pill to swallow when you outplayed the competition for pretty much the entire game, and you still have to swallow a loss, which is what Clemson has to do right now. And where does this team go from here? I don't know. We're about to find out. This is going to be a tough one to recover from, not only as fans, but this is going to be a tough game to recover from for the Clemson team as a whole. And we'll see how resilient this group is. We'll see how senior laden and how the leadership does for this team, because this is going to be a hard game to recover from. This is not a game that Clemson should have lost. They were the better team the entire game. But guess what? That doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, they didn't get it done on the field and they lost. So who cares if they were the best team on the field? Who cares if they outplayed Florida State today? Guess what? The scoreboard's going to say different. When people look back at this game, they're going to see 31-24. FSU beat Clemson. They came into Death Valley. They broke the 7-game winning streak that Clemson had against Florida State, and they got it done against Clemson. And when it really mattered, Jordan Travis and company on the offense got it done. And the Clemson defense did not get pressure on Jordan Travis when they needed to. We had several key injuries in this game, but that's a part of football. It is what it is. Next man up. The next guy's got to step up, and that just wasn't the case for Clemson today. And we end up falling to Florida State in overtime. I questioned the play calling in overtime. I questioned some of the decision making going down the stretch in this game. But I am I'm so irritated. I'm so irritated with this loss right now. I don't think I sat down a single snap in this game. I was pacing my living room, watching this game on my TV the entire game. And we made a lot of plays and we missed a lot of plays as well. But at the end of the day, this is a tough one to swallow for me. This is a really tough game.
Yep, and it's going to be a tough game for this entire fan base to swallow because one, you're 0-2 in the ACC now. That's the reality of it. You're 2-2, and the playoff is not a possibility at this point.
No.
And even making it to the ACC championship game,
that's a far stretch.
Is a far stretch.
Yeah, man. Look, there's nothing. I mean, I know, we're kind of searching for words right now, and we're kind of at a loss for words. But Clemson going to the ACC championship game is honestly, frankly, probably not going to happen. We're 0-2 in the ACC starting off the season. I can't remember the last time a Clemson team could say that. I'm sure somebody in the chat can Google it real quick and tell us the last time Clemson was 0-2 starting the season in the ACC. But we're not going to the ACC championship game. We're certainly not going to the playoffs. That's for sure. That fate was sealed today. We still had a chance if we beat Florida State today and ran the table on our schedule. But that's not going to happen. The best we can do is hope to backdoor our way into the ACC championship game and possibly spoil it for the Florida State Seminoles. That's the best that Clemson could hope to do this season, which is not a place we've been very often, especially not in the past decade for Clemson. So this is a frustrating loss. I think the defense looked good at times. The offense looked good at times. But again, we lose the turnover battle in the game, and it definitely affected the outcome of the game. That guy came unblocked. I think it was a bust by Phil Maffa. Klubnik got hit. The ball came out. It was a return for a touchdown. That's what knotted up the score, 24-24. And basically down the stretch, Clemson kind of handed Florida State this game. And there were a lot of coaching decisions that were made that I tend to question and disagree with, but it is what it is. We didn't win the game. Florida State did. They will, this will kind of be one of the ones where, it was a close game, but they pulled it out. The college football committee will not look down on it at all. They will see a 31-24 score in a hostile environment, and it'll probably be a notch on Florida State's belt when it comes to resume for the college football playoffs.
Yep. You pretty much summed it up there. I guess. Oh man, it's taking me. It's going to take me a second because I'm trying not to get get too fired up because you just think of so many moments where you had this game, and just didn't get it done. We'll talk about the kick that wasn't. We'll talk about the overtime 3rd and 1 screen. We'll talk about the fumble 6. We'll talk about all of that. There's so many opportunities to win this game, and you didn't, and that's disappointing. And yeah, it's going to take a minute. And this, if I'm Dabo Swinney, I'm doing a lot of soul searching right now.
Yeah, and they should. And to be frank, I put this loss on the Clemson coaching staff. There were decisions made in this game that just frankly did not make sense. And look, yeah, were kicks missed, were certain things not executed, sure. We had Tyler Brown went down in this game. He came back and made a couple catches. You saw in overtime, right before overtime, actually, Nate Wiggins went down with what looks like some sort of knee injury or lower leg or some sort of leg injury. Obviously, he had to be helped off of the field, and Florida State immediately went at his replacement in overtime, which makes sense, right? Why wouldn't you go at his replacement? He had been locking down receivers pretty much the entire game. Andrew Makuba played well. I think the defensive line got pressure at times, but did not get pressure enough on Jordan Travis. He got to sit back there far too often and survey the field and pick apart this Clemson secondary. The Clemson secondary, I think, played really well today. We talked about leading into this game about the weapons that Florida State had out wide in Johnny Walker, and Keon Coleman and Bell and all of these guys out wide. I think our defensive backs and our secondary at Clemson really played well today. But sometimes they were asked to cover for far too long, and there were pass interference, defensive holding penalties that were called against the Tigers, and that was a result of the lack of rush that got there, especially the last two drives leading into the half, where Clemson was up by 3, but Florida State went and scored two back-to-back touchdown drives leading into halftime. If those didn't happen, obviously it's a different game. But Clemson's secondary was asked to cover for far too long, and that was the lack of pass rush. And was that a scheme thing? I don't know. Was that just good blocking? It is what it is. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It's a frustrating loss. I was screaming and yelling at my TV for most of the game. I'm really just super frustrated, searching for words right now. But JT Brown gets in. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat, JT. We really do appreciate you supporting the channel. Clemson is in a race to the bottom. It is time to face the music and make hard changes. I think that starts at the top. It's not working.
I am not going to, really entertain that too much. JT, I appreciate your super chat. Thank you for the $5. I do think that there needs to be, and I've been on record. I do think there needs to be staff changes, and I've been on record from that since the off season, really, but especially after the Duke game. This game, I feel the same. But I don't think it starts at the top. The issues start. I think Dabo is as the head coach is responsible, for his coaching staff.
100%.
Yeah, but I think you give him the opportunity to make those changes. If you can't do anything now. There's nothing that this staff can do. I mean, Dabo can do now about the staff or anything. This is the team and staff he's working with. I mean, you could fire somebody mid-season, but that's you're playing a dangerous game doing that.
Yep.
But I think you give him the opportunity because I think Dabo, at least as far as staff changes is concerned, at least he bought himself some grace with firing Brandon Streeter last year and hiring Garrett Riley. And Garrett Riley did not have it was a mixed bag today from Garrett Riley. Granted, and there were some the decisions. There were some costly play calling decisions in this game that cost you this win. But I do think that what Garrett Riley's doing is still, I still think in the long run is going to be what's best for Clemson offensively. And I think you saw the maturity and growth of Cade Klubnik today. Wasn't perfect. That mistake, I think that that screen in overtime that he threw was on him. He made the wrong decision. He was supposed to hand it off. Now I do have a problem with, not the running back that was in the game when you're trying to get 1 yard, but that was on that. I do believe that was on Cade. I think it was a built-in RPO. But it was really just supposed to be. But that built-in RPO was really just to get more numbers, get a better numbers advantage, and they wouldn't be so close to the line. That was just kind of spread them out a little bit. And I think Garrett Riley, if Garrett Riley was allowed to bring his own assistants and staff. Maybe not everybody, maybe not a wholesale change and not offensively, but at least more than a support staffer, we might be in a different situation. But
yeah,
JP, we thank you for the $5.
Thank you.
This loss does it ultimately falls on Dabo, but I'm not on the we gotta get rid of Dabo yet. I'm not in that. We do need to have some tough conversations about the staff, though, and that's just what it is. But I think this team was good enough to win this game, and just on both sides of the ball, you had just some key moments that did not go your way. I talked a lot about the offensive miscues and obviously special teams, but defensively, and you mentioned it, Craven, the drive before the half, especially the two drives. And right before the half, where you were only rushing, especially that last drive, you were only rushing 3 guys. Dabo gave Wes an ass chewing for that, which I was happy to see that. He called him out in the halftime interview too. Basically, that was dumb, and as we know, that ended up being crucial.
And look, at the end of the day, it's good to see things like that because those tend to be conversations that are had behind closed doors. But I mean, why are you rushing 3 guys at the end of the half against a quarterback like Jordan Travis? If you let Jordan Travis sit back there for long enough, he's gonna find a wide receiver. He's got a 6'7" wide receiver in Johnny Wilson. He's got a 6'4" wide receiver in Keon Coleman. He's got Jaheim Bell that is a dynamic tight end. A pass catching tight end out of that comes off of the line of scrimmage basically. That's just a very stupid way to play defense, frankly. It doesn't make sense. It's never going to frickin' work. If you sit there and let Jordan Travis just sit back there and survey the defense, what do you expect your defensive backs to do? Eventually, those dudes are going to get wide open, or it's going to be a pass interference call. So I'm not really sure what Wes Goodwin was thinking, rushing 3 people against Jordan Travis in this offense in that sort of situation. It's frankly mind-boggling. I'm glad Dabo called it out because it's absolutely ridiculous. And that's some of the coaching blunders that we're talking about on this live and that we'll continue to talk about. I know we got 114 people in here right now. Thank you so much for showing up. We really do appreciate it. Please, while you're in here, you may not be a Clemson fan. You may be in here just laughing at us, and I understand that. We deserve it. But go ahead and hit that like button for us, and then subscribe. Hang out with us. We do this. We do a 7 p.m. show every Thursday called the All In Show right here on this channel, and then we do a live post-game show immediately following every Clemson game. So come hang out with us. We would love you guys to stick around with us. Fox Body Blues gets in with a $5 super chat. It says support the channel. y'all do great work. Thank you so much, Fox
Thank you, man.
Body. We really appreciate you getting in here and supporting the channel. It means a ton to us, and thank you so much. But frankly, the Clemson handed Florida State this game. I'm not exactly sure what the coaching staff was thinking in certain positions, but I'm pissed off. I'm pissed off about the game. I'm pissed off about the outcome because Clemson absolutely outplayed Florida State in this game, and yet we have to swallow a loss, and we got to come on here and talk about a loss for Clemson. And our season expectations are pretty much over before the calendar turns October, and that's not something that we're used to as Clemson fans. But without wholesale changes on the staff, I think this may become the norm for Clemson. So Dabo Swinney needs to look in the mirror. He needs to evaluate his staff, and he needs to make the necessary changes. I know he fired Brandon Streeter last offseason and brought in Garrett Riley, and that was a great change. But there's still some changes yet to be made on this Clemson coaching staff roster that have to happen. And I'm a firm believer in that. Just by the outcome of this game, but even before that. So Byron Davis gets in another $5 super chat. Thank you so much, guys, for getting in and supporting the channel. Me and Jordan really do appreciate it. Staff changes, but you get rid of Dabo. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Staff changes, but you get rid of Dabo. We will be back over 25 years. Dabo will still make more changes. He put everyone on notice. Dabo ain't done. Absolutely. Look, if you follow Clemson's program closely, and you've especially followed Clemson's program last offseason, Dabo put the entire coaching staff on notice. And he said, hey, we ain't getting it done, plain and simple. So hopefully he stays true to his word, and the necessary changes that still need to be made, that I think still need to be made, are made. Because this coaching staff, frankly, is just not getting it done right now. We have far too much talent to be 2-2 right now. We have far too much talent to have our postseason and ACC dreams dashed before the calendar turns October. It's absolutely ridiculous to think that a Clemson team this talented, with a roster that is littered with as much talent that Clemson has, for our ACC championship hopes to pretty much be dashed before the calendar turns October. That's ridiculous. Like, there's in no world should Clemson's ACC championship hopes be dashed before the calendar turns October, but it certainly feels like they are right now.
Yeah. I can't even say it enough. It is a product of this staff, and you give Dabo the chance, as Byron said. I think you give him the opportunity to make those changes. You can't do it now, but if things are just, if we're pretending everything is hunky dory,
it's not. It's not.
And there isn't any sort of change. It's going to be really telling, and I'm not going to be super excited about the future moving forward. But thank you once again. Thank you, Byron, for the $5. JT responds with a $10 super chat. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. He says, guys, how many years of excuses are we going to have? It's not 2016 or 2018 anymore. Dabo used the portal, make staff changes, or go. It sucks, but that's the game now. Evolved. No more excuses. And see, JT, that sentiment, I absolutely agree with. I think you just have to give Dabo the opportunity to make those changes. But I don't think there's any way you go into next year without using the portal, given the losses you have on the defensive side of the ball, especially in the secondary. You're going to lose. As rough as this game was, there were a lot of guys especially on the defensive side of the ball, that made themselves some money.
Yep.
Most notably Nate Wiggins. Nate Wiggins looked like another certain Clemson corner that wore number 2, Mackenzie Alexander.
Yes, sir.
Every time I watch him play, he reminded the mentality he plays with. That man's a warrior. If I had to give a game ball to anybody on this team, it would be Nate Wiggins. And when he went down, breaking up that 4th down throw at the end of regulation, you just kind of felt it.
I knew that was going to be a problem for Clemson
Yeah.
when he went down. I knew that Florida State's coaching staff was looking over there. They saw Nate Wiggins on the ground. Now, granted, nobody hopes for injury in a game. I would hope that no one hopes for injury in a game. But that Florida State coaching staff, they looked over. They saw Nate Wiggins on the ground, and they knew exactly what was up come OT. Whoever went in for Nate Wiggins, that's exactly where they were throwing the ball. They told Jordan Travis on the sideline, I'm sure, hey, whoever goes in for number 2, that's where you're throwing the ball.
Yep.
And as good as Jaden Lucas is, as promising as a prospect that he is, he's not Nate Wiggins. And he played pretty good coverage on that throw. It was just a really good throw by Jordan Travis and a really good catch by the wide receiver, right? So, when you lose a guy like that, I agree with you. Nate Wiggins absolutely balled out. I mean, like, look at the amount of plays that Nate Wiggins, if you go back and you watch the tape, the explosive plays that he limited for Florida State because of his coverage ability. They put Nate Wiggins on an island consistently today, and he delivered before he was injured, obviously. But at the end of the day, when you lose a guy like that, the opposing offense is going to target his replacement. That's what happened in the overtime, and Clemson could not get the job done in overtime. We made boneheaded decisions. It should have never came down to overtime. Phil Maffa should have picked up that block that caused the Cade Klubnik turnover, the fumble, the sack fumble that happened that got returned and made the score 24-24. That was on Phil Maffa, right? There was a lot of guys that made mistakes today. However, we still outplayed Florida State today, and there were coaching blunders that happened in this game. And it's super unfortunate that happened. But this Clemson team's got a long road to hoe for the rest of this season. I don't know where they go. It's really going to depend on the leadership of this team. Are they going to fold now? Are they going to start being selfish and caring about their NFL draft stocks and worrying about number 1, or are they going to keep their head down and keep playing? Because look, Clemson's schedule doesn't get any easier. We go to Syracuse next week, an offense that has absolutely been rolling this season so far, and a team that we traditionally struggle with for whatever reason, right? We got Notre Dame on the schedule. We got Miami on the schedule. 2 teams that are playing really, really well this season so far. So Clemson's schedule doesn't get much easier. We got a long road ahead. And if they do not, get their stuff together, it's going to be a long season for the Tigers. So I don't, I just don't know, man. I just don't know. I don't know.
I don't know either. Steel Gamble gets in with the $2 super chat. Thank you, man. He says, took everything I had not to put a hole in this TV. Yeah,
yeah, me too.
I feel your sentiments, man. This is a this is a space for. I know there's a lot of Florida State fans, as you can see by the chat, but this is a space to air out your frustrations, whatever you're feeling. We understand, and that one's gonna stick for a while, for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be rough. Congratulations, all the Florida State fans
Yeah,
that are
it's
in here right
right.
now. I should have led the show with that. I'm sorry. I'm just, I'm just frankly just really frustrated and upset about this loss. But congratulations to all the Florida State fans that have been on this show this week, come into our live, commented, and that are back now. Congratulations on your win. Well deserved. You guys earned it. Um, but this is definitely going to turn into a place where Clemson fans can kind of get their frustrations out. So those of you that want to get your frustrations out in the comment section, hey, by all means, get them out here. This is what we're here for. We're going to talk through all the shortcomings of not only this coaching staff but this team, and everything in between on this victory. So go ahead. You guys will drive the show as we talk about all the things that happen in the show. And Clemson had their moments in this game, right, Jordan? It's not all bad for Clemson. The defense started out really well. I think Jalen Phillips dropped a early interception that could have kind of shifted the game early on, right? Phil Maffa, I think I remember back to talking about the first half when things were really going pretty well for the Tigers. He had that huge pass breakup against Keon Coleman where he came in with a big hit, right? And Tyler Brown was balling out early in this game. I think he had you know, probably over 60 yards early on in this game, just playing outside of his mind. Right, Bo Collins had a big catch on a first down. He had a big catch on a sideline for another first down. So wide receivers for Clemson really stepped up. I do want to give a shout out to the wide receiver group for Clemson. They did come out and play this game well. We were down Antonio Williams with an injury. We're down Cole Turner for the rest of the season. Tyler Brown went out early in this game. Bo Collins stepped up. He made several big catches in this game. Jake Brenningstool sighting finally came in this game. He had a couple catches up the seam, one big one up the sideline, right? I do think there are positives leaving this game, but it's so hard to talk about the positives in this game because of just how Clemson lost this game and just my basically just my feelings of we should have won this game. Like it was in our hands, and I felt like we just gave it away to Florida State, which is just one of the most frustrating things to go through as a fan. It's just mind-boggling stuff. I look, man. I don't know what is. I just don't know, man.
I feel you, man.
This is one of the more rough post game lives that we've had to do,
Yeah,
and it hurts, man. This hurts. Frankly, as a Clemson fan, and I know there's other fan bases out there laughing right now, and I'd be doing the same thing if it was South Carolina or Florida State or any of the rest of the teams. But this sucks, man. This absolutely sucks as a Clemson fan to go through right now, because frankly, I don't know where our program goes from here. We got a lot of questions out there to answer. Dabo Sweeney's going to have to face the music. He's going to have to make changes. I think on his coaching staff, he's going to have to make improvements, man. Like because we are spiraling down. We are starting to look like a college football team that was once dominant, that is now. If you see college football programs, and several programs have gone through this in the past, right? Where they had a dominant period of time where they won national championships or were just overall dominant in their conference. And then they have a couple bad years, and then it tends to be a little bit slower in college football where you have a couple bad years and then there's a cliff, right? So I'm afraid that Clemson is approaching a cliff right now as far as falling off as a program and as a college football team. And it's truly up to Dabo Swinney. It's up to more so the players on this team, how they finish this season. Because the stuff that they were talking about in fall camp, national championship, and all this different stuff that you heard coming out of fall camp that you traditionally do not hear from a Clemson program, all that's gone now. So that's out the window. You don't even worry about a national championship, and you gotta hope. Like you don't even control. Clemson doesn't even control their own destiny in the ACC, much less the college football playoff race. So college football playoff race completely is not a conversation for the Clemson Tigers. And frankly, we have to hope that Duke loses 3 games in the ACC in order for us to even get a shot at the ACC championship game at this point. And is Duke going to lose 3 games in the ACC? I'm not so sure of that. So I don't even know that we have a legitimate shot to even face a Florida State team for a rematch in the ACC. If we would have took care of business week 1, it'd be a different story right now. We'd be 3-1. We would have lost a close game to FSU. It would have felt a lot different, but that's not the case. So, it's what is this team's resiliency? What is their ability to kind of readjust their expectations for the season and continue to play well and win games? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's I'm just in that kind of position where it's like, whatever happens at this point, because it just everything past today seems so murky and unclear. I'm not really sure how this team responds and how this program responds, how Dabo responds. That is a frustrating way to lose, and it's been a build, and it's not just this loss. It goes back to the past 2 years, and it's been a slow build up of angst and frustration and uncertainty that is it's at a peak after this one. Which one was as far, because we've been doing this post game show for a year and some change, a season and some change.
Yep. This is season 2, if you will, of the post game.
Is this one worse than the South Carolina one? I don't know.
That's a tough question. I don't know if it's worse than the South Carolina game, but I almost think that there's more questions, legitimate questions by Clemson fans, such as myself, that were kind of holding out some of the more tough or, obvious questions about this Clemson program. Because, at the end of the day, man, like, we're not performing at the level that we should for the amount of talent that we have on the field. So I think this loss and the way that we lost probably makes it a little worse, because we did play so well for a big portion of this game. But at the end of the day, Clemson's got some question marks, and people have been talking about it for a couple seasons now. And I think some of the questions are just unavoidable now, even for those of us fans that, truly believe in Dabo Swinney and his ability to right this ship that is the Clemson football program. I think some of these questions are just like, they're just real. They're more real after this loss, I think, than they have been. I think if Clemson would have made a way to pull out this game, the questions would have been less magnified. But honestly, if we're being frankly and we're being honest with us as Clemson fans, the questions should be the same for this Clemson team. Win, lose, or draw on this game. I think it magnifies it a little bit more because of the loss and the way that we lost. Looking at the coaching staff and things like that. But even if we would have won this game, the same mistakes were made, right? So we should be asking the same questions. The loss makes it easier to ask the questions and more apparent. It makes the questions more apparent, right? But at the end of the day, no, I don't think it's worse than the South Carolina loss to me, just as a Clemson fan, just as, a traditional Clemson fan where, if you asked me the one game that I wanted to win every single year, it's always going to be South Carolina, regardless, right? So if we had to go 1-11, I would want to win the South Carolina game, right? So in that sense, no, it's not worse. But in a program sense, I think it just makes the questions that some people have been asking about Clemson for a couple of years now even more apparent and even more obvious, I guess, is the best way to say it.
Yeah, I tend to agree. This one it seems like it has bigger implications. But you lost at least you lost to a team that you knew going into it that you had a very good chance of losing to.
Right. But
it doesn't take away the sting, but it is this one's gonna stink for a while.
Well, Jordan, I'll ask you probably a question that'll be parroted throughout YouTube and the national media and everything going forward. Does this at all feel to you like a changing of the guard in the ACC? And so let's face it, this is going to probably be talked about a lot in the national media and on YouTube as YouTube creators about a changing of the guard in the ACC. It'll probably also be parroted as a talk about the transfer portal versus the non-transfer portal. Do you give any validity to any of those kind of takes that will probably be said coming out of this loss for the Tigers?
Yeah. I give it the validity that it deserves. As far as a changing of the guard, I mean, how else can you look at it? You've been slipping for 2 years, and Florida State has been rising. Both teams looked, both teams played a tight game. You were at home. You had a raucous crowd and still came up short. And Florida State's going to, they're the ones that are undefeated in the top 5. I mean, I'm interested to see what they do as far as this season is concerned. I mean, it is what it is, but down the road we'll see. But I don't blame people for if they have that stance. And as far as the transfer portal is concerned, I've always been on record that Clemson needs to use the transfer portal. That is a fact. I don't feel differently or anything. I think Clemson would have been able to benefit from the transfer portal this year. They would have been able to benefit from it last year and the years before that, and when it was open the years before that. But I don't think you lost this game because of I don't think you lost this game because of your lack of transfer players. You lost this game because of coaching decisions and just poor execution in key moments. And that's not really a talent or player thing. That is a coaching thing. So yeah, I do think that this curbs at least to a degree. It curbs the. There was a crowd of people prior to this game that thought that Clemson had no shot in this game and that they were going to get blown out because of what they had shown against Duke, what Florida State looked like against LSU. I think what you saw today was that Clemson is a lot better than what they showed against Duke. So, and Florida State is a really good football team, but they're not unbeatable. And you could have, you had your opportunities, and you didn't take advantage of them. And
absolutely,
it is what it is. You failed in some key moments.
Absolutely.
And it's so hard to really get into the nitty gritty, and because we've kind of been talking loosely overarching, we haven't really talked about sequences in the game and gone real in depth because it's just so hard to delve into all of that when you have so many of these overarching questions about this season, about the program lingering over your head.
Yeah.
This is going to take a while to process. And
yeah, this is
when I rewatch this game, maybe I'll when we do our show on Thursday, we'll definitely do our final thoughts and before.
Unfortunately, that means we're going to have to watch this game again. I'm not looking forward to it, but yeah, I'm obviously going to watch this game again, and we'll give our overarching our last thoughts on this game. We'll give our more measured approach, obviously on Thursday on our weekly All In show. But let's get to a couple more super chats that came across. JT Brown gets in again and says, hats off to FSU. Hope they go all the way. Respect. Absolutely. They look to, obviously, FSU looks to be the favorite in the ACC. They're probably going to, I would imagine, have a berth into the ACC championship game unless something crazy happens. And I would expect them to probably win the ACC at this point. I don't think anybody would disagree what the best team in the ACC is to date. So, hats off to the Seminoles. They're carrying the flag for the ACC right now. Byron Davis gets in and said, Cade wasn't the reason why we lost. If anything, was seen how much he has grown. His heart, I will stick by that. He's grown a lot. Absolutely. Look, Cade played great in this game, and I know that turnover is going to go on him as far as that fumble sack that tied the game up at 24. But again, that was not Cade's fault. He did not see that pressure coming. That was a bust by the running back by not picking up that free rusher. And by no means was that Cade's fault. He's certainly not the reason that we lost this game. He played great. He made great decisions with the football. He did not put the football in harm's way. He made a lot of big-time throws. Receivers made a lot of big-time catches. I think Adam Randall's catch that he kind of trapped between his thigh on the sideline over there early in the game. There were a lot of good things for this Clemson offense in this game.
Yeah.
It's just it's being overshadowed by the loss and the way that it happened. But Cade was not the issue. I don't think the wide receiving core was the issue. Obviously, outside of injuries, I think protection was obviously still an issue for the Tigers. But, Cade certainly was not the reason that we lost this game.
Well, and I'll say this about the pass protection. I thought in a lot of instances and on some big plays, they did help hold up really well in pass pro. Obviously, they almost did like a 180, because this team had been really proficient running the ball.
Not today, though.
and the pass blocking was really suspect. But today it was kind of the opposite. They were not great, especially in short yardage. They were not great in the run game. Late in the game, they were able to break off some big runs, and unfortunately, we weren't able to do much with them. Obviously, the big film offer run was on that drive where the strip sack 6 happened. So
Yeah.
That's just unfortunate. But that play is, it is what it is. The offensive line did what they were supposed to. It was a good play call by Adam Fuller, Florida State's defensive coordinator. It was a well timed blitz right in an area where Cade wouldn't see it, and Phil Maffa just kind of missed. He just kind of missed it, and that. So it's those kinds of little margins and of every single play that can be the difference between a successful pass play and what you saw.
And that was a big difference in the game right there. So
yep, it was.
It's just
and
one of those.
It gave them life. That was I won't say it was a 14-point swing because you don't know what if Clemson would have scored a touchdown on that drive. But the way they were rolling,
they were certainly moving the ball at will against the Florida State defense at that point, and that was, a huge play, and probably, at least a 10-point swing. I would have thought that Clemson would have at least gotten a field goal out of that drive, if not a touchdown. So, probably a 14 to 10-point swing on that particular play, but. That's the flow of the game type stuff. That's the stuff that happens, and it's one of those things. JT Brown gets back in and says, "Smash that like button, support these guys, go Tigers." Thank you so much, JT. Really appreciate it. We got 129 people in the live chat right now. Please go ahead and hit that like button for us. Subscribe if you are not already subscribed. Me and Jordan do these post-game live videos immediately following every Clemson game, whether that be a win or a loss. We also do a weekly show on Thursday at 7 p.m. called the All In Show. So come join us for that as well. We appreciate you guys showing out and showing support. JT gets back in with another $5 super chat. This man's killing it. Thank you so much, man. You are the real MVP today. The problem with the portal is we start using it now. It'll be another few years before we can even talk about a championship.
What are your thoughts on that?
What are your thoughts on that?
What about using the portal would I mean, that negates the point of using the portal. The portal is supposed to expedite the process of having developed guys that and difference makers on the field instead of building all of your talent through the high school ranks. So I mean, you saw what did Florida State it didn't take too long for, especially once they showed they had a proof of concept with their transfers. Oh yeah, it was a pretty easy sell for Mike Norvell to get a guy like Keon Coleman to come to Florida State when he saw what Johnny Wilson did the year before. It was easy to get Trey Benson to come. It was easy to see get a Jared Verse when he saw what Jermaine Johnson did before him. Like that, you can find difference, and Clemson certainly would be an attractive spot. I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but Clemson, if they were to leverage the portal properly, they would be they wouldn't have an issue finding guys, difference makers that would be willing to come here. And I know for a fact that there were guys that did want to come here that were told no for one reason or another. So.
Yeah. And we talked about that in our lead up to this Florida State game. So go check out our preview show for the Florida State Clemson game on Thursday.
Yep.
Byron Davis gets in with another $5 super chat. Said Jordan Travis is a great quarterback, but the last 2 years of frustration can't be put all on Cade. Absolutely. Look, I'm not putting this loss on Cade at all. This loss has nothing to do with Cade or his ability to be a great quarterback for Clemson by any means. This is not on Cade. He played, I think, winning football today. He did not give Clemson any reason to lose this game, in my opinion. It was that fumble was an unfortunate thing that happened. We kind of already covered it. But at the end of the day, no, it's not on Cade. It's not on
Yeah.
Cade. He's doing just fine. He's
Yeah.
developing. He's becoming far more decisive with the football. He's becoming a leader on the offense. He's getting better reads. He's looking far more comfortable in the pocket. He's taking off and running when protection breaks down, unlike he was doing early on in the season when he was kind of throwing balls up for kind of jump balls when protection would break down and he was trying to be the hero. He's doing far less of that. And this loss is definitely not on Cade. He played great. I think Cade played as good as he could have played today.
Just I know and I know the overtime possession with the screen. I think that was on. I do believe that was on Cade, but you should have never been in that situation to begin with because Clemson should have won this game in overtime. I mean, you missed the field goal. That wasn't great, and that was one of my biggest fears, and a lot of Clemson fans' biggest fears, knowing what our kicking situation was, that if this game came down to a field goal, would we be able to make it? And I think it's hard to bag on Jonathan White's too much.
I mean, the dude was literally just an online grad student about to, go work for a company in New York last week. So
we signed up. This is what we signed up for, pretty much.
Yeah,
and
it is what it is.
And I think what's even I think what we should be upset about is the play calling and decision making leading up to that field goal. Because that red zone that trick play they ran on. I don't know what the playing for a field goal in that situation with a kicker that isn't proven. Yes, he made his first one. He made all his extra points. So I understand hindsight is a little bit of 2020, but
I mean,
knowing the offense, I think even more importantly, knowing the offense you're facing, as much as you had been teeing off on that Florida State offense and how they only scored 24 offensive points today, and 7 of those were in overtime. And so at that point, they had only scored 17. As much as you were,
and that was a defensive score too. So
well, that's what I was saying. No, I was saying 17, and then plus the 7 that they got from
yeah, absolutely.
So their offense had only scored 17 points. As much as you had been having success against them, you knew that they could hit those big plays, and you knew they could go right down the field. Playing for a field goal, when you know that offense, especially knowing what they did to you at the end of the first half, knowing that they could go down and score a touchdown and potentially win the game, why are you playing for the field goal?
Makes no sense.
I thought everything leading up into that drive, they were using clock. It was good. They were working down the field. And then to do all of that and run all those plays just to play for the field goal when Florida State has 3 timeouts, or I know they at least had, I think they had 3 timeouts at that point.
And I would have honestly, when we're talking about play calling, right, Jordan, they did that quarterback keeper, right, on 3rd down.
Yeah.
I would have rather seen Cade take a shot to the end zone and it be an incomplete pass and then kick the field goal, right? At least we tried. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least we gave it a shot to get into the end zone or to get that first down, right? Maybe have a check down dude that can get the first down, and then, 2 or 3 guys run end zone routes where if they're open, you hit them. If not, you do the check down dude. Hopefully he gets the first down. If not, at a worst, you kick a field goal. But you run sort of a quarterback run / draw play that just frankly was terrible, and it didn't work. And it's decisions like that Clemson did in this game that just do not make sense to me. You cannot play to a field goal against a team like Florida State. Their ability to go down the field and score within a minute is so great. Yes, and I realized, to your point, Clemson's defense played fantastic for a big portion of this game. However, when it's crunch time and you're playing against a team as good as Florida State, you just got to assume they're going to march down the field against you. Especially when you saw at times your inability to pressure Jordan Travis and his ability to hit big plays down the field. You've seen it. It had already happened in this game. So why you're playing for a field goal and running Cade up the middle on a third down play just makes no sense to me. Take a shot to the end zone. Try to win the game. Because if Clemson converts there and they either get a first down or they score a touchdown, the game's probably over at that point, right? Because the momentum shift of it. You got to account for the momentum shift. They score a touchdown, they kick the extra point. Now the defense has juice, right? Now the defensive line is coming after Jordan Travis, and all the pressure is on Jordan Travis and those wide receivers to march down the field. But instead, you shank a field goal. They march down the field. They tie it up. We go to overtime, and now now what are we doing? Nate Wiggins goes down on the last play of regulation, basically. So now they know, they're like, hey, their number one corner just went down with an injury. They're going to have to replace him with a guy that's clearly not as good as him. And what did they do? They immediately targeted his replacement. And it was a touchdown. 2 plays into overtime, they got a touchdown. And then, we've already kind of talked about the questionable offensive play calling in our overtime possession that was just mind-boggling, to be completely honest. You can't do stuff like that in these type of games. You got to seize the moment. You had the momentum at that point. You got to at least take a shot at the end zone. If you don't make it, fine. But not taking a shot, to me, is just unacceptable. It's just unacceptable.
Yep. I don't even have. I'm exhausted. I don't even have much else to add at this point. It is.
Yeah. Byron Davis gets in and says, as bad as it's. Oh, man. Thank you, Byron Davis, for the $5 super chat. Appreciate you. It's a good day. As bad as it still is, it's a good day to be a Tiger. Love the show. Hit that like button. You are the best. Thank you so much, Byron, for getting in, for supporting this channel as much as you have today. You have done several super chats at this point. Thank you so much, man. Really do appreciate it. We got 125 people in here right now. Please go ahead and hit that like button for us. Hit that subscribe button for us. Me and Jordan do these post-game live reactions after every Clemson game. We also do what we call the All-In Show every Thursday at 7 p.m. right here on this channel. We are sort of at a loss for words, I guess, if you will, for this particular game, man. It's a tough game as a Clemson fan. It's hard to swallow. There were ways for this Clemson team to win this game so many times in this game, and we just didn't make the right calls. We didn't get it done, and it's just frustrating to watch. I don't know what else to say about it. I think we've talked enough about it, Jordan, at this point. We'll talk more about it in our Thursday show this Thursday at 7 p.m. I'll turn it over to the chat section at this point. I don't really want to continue going down the road. Let's give us a couple shout outs to some of the players that I think that played well, and then I'll let you shout out some players that you thought played well, Jordan, and then we'll turn it over to the chat section and finish up the show. I thought Cade played well. I thought Phil Maffa played well. I have no clue why Phil Maffa disappeared in the offense late in this game. I will question that probably up until the Thursday episode. Maybe I'll have more to say about it then. I thought Bo Collins made a couple clutch catches today. Um, Tyler Brown played really well. He was good out in space. He had that, that shoulder injury that I was questioning, but he came back in and made a couple catches. Troy Stellato sighting again today was great. Jake Brenningstool played really well. He caught that big ball up the seam. He caught another ball down the sideline. So he got in the game and played really well today, I think. Um, you know, Unfortunately, Nate Wiggins went out with that injury, but up until that point, he was playing absolutely out of his mind. Barrett Carter in coverage today was amazing. Barrett Carter in coverage today on Jaheim Bell and other wide receivers was absolutely amazing. He showed his athleticism today. XT made a few plays today. I think he got held far more times than was called in this game. Not that it would have made a difference in the game, but he was being held consistently in this game by the offensive line, I think. Peter Woods played really good. Tyler Davis played really good. Let's see. Jeremiah Trotter, he got that big sack. He also played really well. I think overall you could point to a lot of positives for this Clemson team, but it's really hard to talk about the positives when you look at just how we lost this game. So I'll turn it over to you, Jordan. You talk about the guys that stood out to you, and then we'll turn it over to the comment section for about 5 or so minutes, and then we'll get out of here for the post game.
Yeah. I think the defensive tackles had a hell of a game. Whether
Absolutely.
it's Tyler Davis, Rugaroro, whether it's Peter Woods in there. I thought they did a fantastic job of limiting FSU's run games. They really had nothing going in the traditional run game all night. And I thought I was proud of that, because that was something I was a little worried about, because it was something they had gashed Clemson in the run game last year. That we're not able to get anything going this in this game. So I thought that was I thought they played really, really well. I thought Jalen Phillips, thought he had a hell of a game. He made some key breakups one-on-one in coverage as a safety.
Yeah.
I thought that was really, really good. I thought he played a really damn good game. We've already mentioned Nate Wiggins. Nate Wiggins is my defensive MVP. You really did like that. You could tell Florida State was hesitant to throw in his direction. They did not throw it many times, and when they did, he was right in lockstep with whether it was Johnny Wilson or Keon Coleman. I thought he played phenomenal, and I hope he's okay. It did not look good, if I'm being honest. The way he landed and his knee kind of hyperextended, and
he couldn't even put pressure on it coming off the field. So that's it's not yet. Hopefully we get good news, but it wasn't looking good the way that he was helped off of the field.
No. It sucks because this game took a lot out of you and you didn't come out with a win, and now you're probably going to be. I will not be surprised next week if there are more injuries that that haven't been documented or noticed yet that will be discussed. And this team is already a little banged up. So that sucks. But who else do I think really? I mean, I think the secondary in general. I know they gave up some big plays. I know Jaden Lucas. He had the busted coverage. Well, it wasn't a busted coverage. He just got straight up beat. 1-on-1 right before regulation, and then obviously he gave up the touchdown in overtime. But he was in good coverage on that one. And the one he gave up at the end of regulation didn't end up hurting you because you got the stop. But I think the secondary as a whole is I think the secondary as a whole played about as well as you could have asked them to.
Yeah.
I thought they were put in some awful situations.
For sure.
At times. I thought there were some missed tackles, but it's going to happen. Florida State has special playmakers. I don't really fault that too much. they played about as well as they could have, and they made some really, really key pass breakups and gave this team a chance to go win the game, and they didn't. You just didn't. Who else do I want to get? Troy Stellato thought he played his best game, and he when his number was called, he stepped up and he made some really nice catches. So on some key third downs, he was I think he had finished with 5 catches. 4 catches for 41 yards, and all 4 of them were pretty significant and allowed Clemson to keep moving the chains. But yeah, other than that, I'll give it to Aiden Swanson. And thank you for the super chat, JT. I'll address that. But I thought Aiden Swanson played phenomenal.
Yeah,
Aiden Swanson as a punter, he averaged 53 yards per punt today. Clemson was able to flip the field at times and work the field position to their advantage, and I think that's in part because of Aiden Swanson. And that guy has gotten a lot of flack from the fan base because after everything that happened last year and the struggles last year, but he has really grown. I think we finally have a punter. He showed up in a big game and helped this team out tremendously and gave them a chance. And that's probably one that's not going to go. He's probably going to be very unsung because of the result and just because punters don't really get a whole lot of love. But I thought I wanted to give him a shout out because
absolutely,
he played great. Four punts for 213 yards combined, a 53.3 average. Yeah, that's about as good as you can ask.
And I gotta shout him out as well because I gave him tons of flack last year, and he has been nothing but consistent this season, which is one of the things that he wasn't last season. So, you gotta shout out the guy when he's playing well, and Aiden Swanson has been nothing but consistent this season. So, unsung hero type deal. Nobody talks about punting when it's good. You only talk about it when it's bad. So, yeah, absolutely. I'm glad that he's out here consistently kicking. Thank you so much, JT, for getting in with another $2. Wiggins played his butt off today. Absolutely, he did, man. I hope he's okay. I don't know if he's going to be out for the season. I really hope not. If he is out for the season, that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem for the Clemson secondary. That's a huge loss. That is 100%, without question, our DB1. And if he cannot go, there's going to be plays to be made in the Clemson secondary in his absence. So, Jordan, let's go ahead and turn it over to the chat section. Select a couple people in the chat. We'll answer their questions. We'll talk about what they want to talk about for about 5 minutes or so, and then we'll turn the page. We'll get out of here for this unfortunate loss by the Tigers. We'll go watch some more college football and sulk in our misery that is losing at home to the Florida State Seminoles. I hate it. Can't believe it happened. I thought for a big portion of this game we were going to get the job done, and it just didn't happen. So thank you for everybody in here that has, before we get into other chats, thank you everybody that has super chatted. Okay, I really, really, really do appreciate it. You are supporting this show so much when you do this type of stuff. So JT Brown got in with several super chats, as did Fox Body Blues. Byron Davis got in. Steel Gamble got in with a super chat. So thank you guys so much for getting in with those super chats. And now we turn it over to you guys for the next 5 minutes.
Yep. And you mentioned enjoying more college football. It's like that's one of those the drawbacks of a noon game. It's like the positives are that you get the game out of the way, and if you win, you get to just sit back and relax, knowing your team won, and you can go watch the games. But if you lose, you got to sulk and you got to sit and stew with that while trying to watch other games, and that's it's not fun, especially when you lose the way Clemson did today.
Yeah. And then you can't laugh at your rivals if they lose. because you lost. So
that's a shame.
That takes away from it.
John Sarian gets in because I did see in the comments, this situation is nothing close to the West era. Feels a little like the Bowden era, but with much better talent. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, this is not the Tommy West era. Well, granted, I was not alive for the Tommy West era, but I do know that those Clemson teams were not as nearly as talented. Clemson was coming off of NCAA sanctions, and they had really good pieces here or there. Brian Dawkins and Raymond Priester and Keith Adams. You had some really talented players, but here or there. But as a team, you just weren't very good. This definitely feels closer to the Bowden era because Bowden definitely recruited better than Tommy West did, and Clemson had some really talented teams while he was there that just for one reason or another underperformed. And yeah, this is what this feels like. With supposedly, this is one of the more talented teams in Clemson history on paper, if you put much stock into recruiting rankings. But the team is not. You're not getting that kind of play. You haven't gotten that kind of play in a few years. And
yeah, I mean, frankly, we're in a place where we haven't been in about a decade now. So, regardless of what coach you want to compare it to, previous to Dabo Swinney, Clemson is at a point right now where we have not been in a decade. It is unfamiliar territory for us right now. We have been somewhat spoiled in this run that Clemson has been on. But look, we got far too much talent to waste it away. So Dabo needs to figure it out. That's why he gets paid 10, 11, 12, whatever, how many ever $1 million he gets paid a year. He's got to figure it out. So it's on him. He's on the clock. He's got time to figure it out. I by no means am saying that we need to make a switch at coaching as far as head coach anyway goes. But, we got to make some changes. Clemson is not on a good trend right now.
Strange Days gets in. Says 3 out of 4 games with turnovers that are returned for a touchdown. Yeah.
That's not winning football, man. It's hard to win when you do stuff, especially against, a team as good as Florida State. You could look at that one turnover return for a touchdown at Florida State, and that was kind of the game, right? Unfortunate for the Tigers.
Joe Wright thinks we are a year away from a championship. I think. I
hope so.
If the changes that are made that I think need to be made, and you utilize the transfer portal, maybe, because I think there were positives. It's hard now to talk about them, but there are positives, and we'll get more into those when we give our final thoughts. So I do need to go back and rewatch the game, and so I can really settle and well, it's not going to make me settle, but it will at least allow me to refine my thoughts and opinions and give a real.
On our Thursday show, we'll have time to digest this loss a little bit more than we have at this point.
Yeah, it's not sitting well.
It'll be a more measured, response to this loss. So,
but the point of these is to give our raw reactions, and we may feel differently about some stuff we say on here from time to time. Later once we've given it more thought, but. Point of these post-game shows is to give you guys a raw reaction and just kind of and at this point it's a therapy session because I think a lot of people in this fan base need it right now.
Yeah, I think during the past 2 seasons, I think our boy Morgan Thomas became famous for the Clemson loser support group, which I spent some time in those lives as well.
Same. I need me a little bit of that. Shout out to Morgan if you're listening.
Shout out to Morgan. You guys go check his channel out. I spent some time in those chat sections before we used to do our post game lives, Jordan, and I used to get some crazy thoughts off of my chest in those lives as well. It feels good to just say your raw, unfiltered reaction, and that's kind of what this post game live is. So bring it to us, guys. Let's hear it.
Isaac is trying to bring up our spirits. We appreciate it. He says, who y'all got in the Notre Dame OSU game? I got to change the subject. I'm legit getting depressed. I get it, Isaac, man.
I feel you, man.
I feel you for sure.
I got Notre Dame. I got Notre Dame in that game.
I'm feeling Notre Dame too. I think the matchup. I think for once Notre Dame has the better quarterback going into the matchup. I think they're better on the line of scrimmage. I think Ohio State has improved a ton defensively, so I think that's going to be a good test for what seems to be a new and improved Notre Dame offense. But that offensive line, that run game is a load, and Sam Hartman is dealing right now, and they're playing really good football, and they seem to have a really they seem to know what they want to be, and their offensive coordinator Jared Parker has done a good job, I think, so far. And that's going to be a fun game, and I'm going to do everything in my power to filter everything that happened from today and just focus on that game, because there's still I am a college football fan still, and I somehow managed to watch games when Clemson was a lot worse than we are now. So
that's right.
While we've all gotten used to the winning, and the way we're not winning right now is kind of, you're kind of refamiliarizing it yourself with it, but at the end of the day, we've been through worse, and I still enjoy watching college football, and I'm definitely excited to see what this game has in store, because it's going to be a good one. It's going to
be a good one. I think Notre Dame's got the advantage on the line of scrimmage. Obviously, I think they have the advantage at quarterback, which is something they have not been able to say in quite some time. But at the end of the day, I'm a college football fan. And although we've been through worse, it's uncharted territory just based off of the expectations that Clemson has as a program now. So that's kind of what makes it different as a Clemson fan. When I was younger, watching Clemson football, we weren't a, national title contender. We didn't have those expectations. And now we do consistently, especially with Dabo Swinney and the multiple national championships. So that's what makes it a little bit different as a Clemson fan now. But, at the end of the day, I'm a lover of college football, man. So I'm going to go and I'm going to try to enjoy the games as best I can the rest of the day. Yeah. Steel Gamble. Man, we got another super chat in here, Jordan.
Yep.
Steel Gamble gets in with his second or third super chat of the day, man. Shout out to the comment section with all the super chats today. We really do appreciate it. You guys are killing it.
He gets in and says, this is still a pretty good team. I came into the year saying we'll improve week by week, and so far it's been accurate. We'll end the year right. Steel Gamble, I think that's a good perspective to have. And I think especially after the Duke game, that's kind of the approach I'm taking. Despite this loss, it hurts, because you knew you were able to win this game. And the way I picked Clemson again, I picked Clemson to lose, so it shouldn't hurt as bad as it does, but it did not play out the way that I thought it was. I thought Florida State would. I thought Clemson would bring a spirited effort, but Florida State would prove to be the better team and win a close one. But it just felt like Clemson was the team in control, and you just gave it away, and that one hurts, because a win today significantly changes the outlook of your season and going forward. But I do think at the end of the day, it's easy to dwell on the negative, but this team did grow up today, and
they did.
They've come along. They still have come a long way from Duke, and
they are continuing to get better. Like Steel Gamble's saying, they are improving.
Yeah,
it's tough to deal with when you're dealing with multiple losses, especially in the month of September. As a Clemson fan, with the decade that we've had coming up to this, but we are getting better. It's not all bad, but it's certainly not good right now. It's certainly not good.
Yeah. You feel like there were things that, you wouldn't have to be in a situation where the place you're improving from is I guess is the biggest problem. Your starting point should have been a lot better, but it you can't change it now. You can't go back in the past. So you can only hope that this team continues to continues to improve, and this doesn't negatively affect them. It's because it's going to be tough. I really don't know how this team is going to respond. And you have a tough test going. Next week you have to pick yourself up off the mat. We still have 8 games left. At least on this regular season slate, and you're going to a house of horrors next week.
And guess what? Syracuse ain't gonna lay down.
No,
Syracuse is not going to lay down. So we'll talk about that a lot more in obviously our Thursday episode on this channel. But shout out to the Noles, and I guess the best advice I can give to them at this point is you're carrying the flag for the ACC at this point. So don't fumble the bag, Noles. Don't fumble the bag. It's on you. You've kind of taken the conference at this point. It's I guess a changing of the guard in some sense, at least for the 2023 season. So don't mess it up. Don't mess it up.
Dan, we got another super chat. It's like y'all don't want us to leave.
Thank you, Gregory Campbell,
with the $5 super chat. He says tough loss today, but I'm sure Coach Dabo will rally the troops and have the guys ready to play and win next game. Just got a few loose ends to tie up. Yeah, I mean, this team is. You saw the margins are this small, and you just do one or two things here differently, and we're talking about a different outcome, and that's always the toughest thing to deal with. But this team has to rally. This team has to respond. That's at this point, that's where we're at, because all the overarching questions about this program, about Dabo, about the staff, none of that can be addressed right now. This team is what it's going to be, and you have to continue to get better, and maybe things or maybe the outlook is a little bit different by the end of the year. And mathematically, you're not out of it, but this loss makes things really, really tough as far as the ACC championship is concerned. Playoff is pretty much a non-starter.
Playoffs a wash. Playoffs not going to happen. ACC championship, your chances are pretty slim at this point, in my opinion. I don't really see Duke losing 3 games. That's just my opinion. But it is a tough loss, and I think that'll be a question that we address probably pretty heavily. I would assume in our Thursday episode of the All In Show, is how does this team respond? Because that's really going to be the sign of, or that's going to tell us what the rest of the season is going to look like. How this team is able to rally and respond next week. That'll tell us what the rest of the season will look like for the Tigers. I have to assume with the amount of leadership, senior leadership, veteran leadership on this team, I would assume that they are able to respond well, especially with Dabo Swinney at the helm. But again, it's always a question. It's always a question mark when you're dealing with the expectations leading into the season, and then now where we find ourselves. That's tough.
100%. All right. Anything else? We got a couple of trolls, but that's anything else?
I love the trolls.
Let's see. I don't really want to give those. I mean, they're you guys are fine.
No. Yeah. I love that they get in here and comment. We appreciate it, but yeah.
John gets in. He says, my opinion, we got a 19-year-old quarterback. Everyone is expecting to play like 22 in 4 years in the system. You only get better and could win every next game this year. Yeah. Totally, John. I don't feel, again, I strangely enough, this performance, I don't know. In some ways, I feel better. Going forward.
I mean, I know you could point to the North Carolina performance, but this might have been one of K's best performances as a Clemson quarterback.
Yeah, I think he showed. I think he showed the ability, and he showed some point. That throw over the middle when he was getting lit up.
Oh man, yeah,
running stool.
Yeah, He took a shot.
That was pretty elite. That was a pretty elite throw.
He stood in there. He made the throw. But look, he's showing growth, which is all you want to see out of a young quarterback. He's showing that he is growing. His decision making is becoming so much better. So much better. This is not on Cade. So anybody, I don't expect that there is, but if there's any Clemson fans out there blaming this on Cade or dunking on Cade, you're off base, man. That's not the case. This dude is growing immensely in this offense. He's gotten better every single week. His decision making has gotten better. Yeah, is he making mistakes? Sure. He's 19 years old. It's his fifth start now as a Clemson quarterback. So it's not his fault. We didn't lose because of Cade. So I doubt there is, but if there's anybody out there saying that it was on Cade, it's not. It's not. He played well enough to win today.
I think there were a lot of you played you got a good enough quarterback play today from Cade to win this game.
No doubt.
He's not blameless. He of course made his mistakes.
Sure.
But I think I think he played more than well enough to win, and he showed a lot of poise and some in a really tight moment because the expectation for a lot of fans, a lot of outsiders was that Clemson had no chance in this game, and they were Florida State was going to win pretty comfortably.
Yeah, they were supposed to blow us out in Death Valley, by the way, according to a lot of people on the internet. So that didn't happen.
It's again.
No moral victories here, though.
No moral victories, but you have to be able to live with the positives, take those going forward, and just do whatever you can to limit the negatives. It's frustrating, and I have so many issues with how this game played out and decisions that were made but it's at the end of the day, you have to be able to take the positives and move forward. So,
John Sarian's comment, I got to highlight. This is hilarious. Can we take up a collection to remove all weapons from this team so there's no more foot shooting?
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah,
let's do that for sure. That's funny.
They were supposed to blow you out. The spread was -2. I'm not delusional. I didn't say Vegas. No one said Vegas thought we were going to blow it because Vegas actually knew that Clemson wasn't as bad as a team as people wanted to believe. So Eric, you're right that I'm not saying that the spread has nothing to do with public opinion. First of all, Vegas there's a reason Vegas is good at what they do when they make money because they actually have the tools and resources to accurately, pretty scarily accurate at times model games. And they knew that Clemson was not as bad of a team as people seem to think because they lost to Duke. I totally agree that I'm taking the spread completely out of it. I'm talking about the discourse about this game leading up to it. 93% of the public money came in on FSU. If you want to talk about betting and public opinion. So and you want to talk about how many people in the college football media space that picked Clemson to lose, and a lot of them picked to lose pretty convincingly. This is not. I'm just saying that this team is not as bad as they showed against Duke, and this is a good football team that has a lot of growing to do, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to make enough plays in this game to pull out a win. But I think the players on this team are good enough, and I think there's still a lot that this team can play for going forward. But it's a matter of how you pick yourself up, and this one's gonna suck for a good bit. And but you have, like I said, you have to move on. And the stuff that we've talked about, the overarching issues about this program is stuff that, we can harp on it over and over again, but nothing's going to get done until the end of the year. So
right.
We gotta.
Eric gets back in and says the discourse was from fans. Come on, fellas. That was kind of my point. I was talking about the internet, not Vegas or betting lines. Eric, I was referring to fans on the internet in comment sections. So
And I wasn't even referring to fans. I was talking about college football media. Yeah, fans are fans. I'm not even talking about the fan. Like, if a Florida State fan thought we were going to blow it, they were going to blow it. Like, I'm not. That's not what I'm saying. Like, oh man, Florida State was supposed to blow us out. Oh, your fans thought so. Yeah, that's called being a fan. Every fan base has fans that think their team is going to win by 50 every game. That's
true. Yeah,
fan is short for fanatic. I'm talking about the nonpartisan, the neutral observers about this game. There were so many that thought that Clemson did not have much of a shot in this game. Despite the spread, despite all of that, there were a lot of people that thought this team wasn't good enough to win that game. And they showed differently. They ultimately didn't win the game, but I think obviously any person with common sense knows that Clemson had a lot of opportunities to win this game. So but that's all I'm saying.
Hey, congrats, Eric, on your Knowles win. It's just good. Look, like I said, don't fumble the bag. Don't fumble the bag. It's on you guys. You guys are carrying the flag for the ACC. Don't fumble the bag. Go win the conference. Get into the college football playoffs. Hopefully, you guys have a great season going forward. I'm not hating by any means. But there were plenty of people out there that thought that Florida State would win this game pretty easily, and that did not happen. But it is what it is. It doesn't matter. So I think that'll do it for the show tonight. Or today, I should say. It's not tonight. I'm used to our shows being at night. But look, Clemson did not get it done today. It was a less than spectacular performance, especially towards the end of the game for the Tigers. But we'll talk more about the Florida State loss. And what Clemson will look like going forward for this season come Thursday night at 7 p.m. Be right back here on the Voice of College Football Clemson channel for the All-In Show with me, Tiger Paul Craven, your boy over here, Jordan Bowman. We would love to see all of you guys back here, even Eric. And the rest of the Knowles people that are in here right now. We would love to see you guys come back, chop it up with us about college football, about Clemson football going forward, about the ACC, all that sort of stuff. We'll be right back here at 7 p.m. on Thursday to give you our final thoughts on this game and then to give you our thoughts going forward versus Syracuse and the rest of the Clemson schedule. Thank you so much for showing up tonight. Or today and showing out. You guys hit that super chat feature so much today. You supported the channel like crazy. I'm humbled and just super thankful for all of you guys getting here and commenting, regardless of whether you're trolling us or laughing at us or anything in between. We really do appreciate all the interaction from the Clemson fans, the Florida State fans, and all the fans in between. Go check out all the other channels on the Voice of College Football. Mark Rogers, there's Michigan, there's a Florida State channel that's over there. I'm sure doing a great post-game live video, and there's Georgia channels and everything in between, guys. So thank you so much for showing up and showing out. Until next time, which will be Thursday at 7 p.m. I'm Tiger Paul Craven. He is Jordan Bowman. We'll see you on Thursday. Go Tigers.
Later, y'all.